So moving the discussion a little bit towards NFTs and digital collectibles, do you believe that utility is important for digital collectibles?
I think the more that something has use, the more valuable it gets. There's no question. You have it's like the old Swiss Army knife compared to the one blade pocket knife, right? That Swiss Army knife had more value. You have NFTs that have a backbone of, digital currency. In some cases, it's the reason why people went into NFTs because they were interested in the digital universe or the digital coin realm. Other people don't go in because of that exact same reason. They're not comfortable with that, with the digital currency. So it does cut both ways. That's one of the challenges you have. So, but I think, again, if you're looking at OMI specifically, you have to develop additional usage for it. Otherwise, what do you do with it? Because, people buy that strictly as an investment. They're not buying it because they want to collect homies. They're buying it because they believe that if the more you can create a use for it, the more valuable it gets. So I think that's where that sits. So what does that mean? Let the boys figure it out. I think the exponential experience is really critical. I think the problem, well, not a problem. But one of the things I keep talking about this all the time. I want to get off this phone. I want to get off the web. I want to get off the computer. I want to get them into a place where you can have them in your home. You can have them in your living room. You can have them in your bedroom. You can have them any place you want where you're actually interfacing with them in real time. And that can be done already. I mean, that can be done already. Display cases, we could actually download NFTs into the display case. But I'm talking about even without a display case. Eventually that's going to happen. And eventually, and then the idea is having your own real collection as opposed to being just on a phone or a computer. It's really in a room. Now, it's not really in a room, but it looks like it's in a room, right? And to me, that would be so cool. I mean, that would be so cool. And then the people that come in without, put on headsets or anything else, that's a way away. It's not going to happen tomorrow because you're going to have to probably wear a headset initially. But if you walk into a room and there's my favorite, whatever it might be. There's a Tyrannosaurus Rex I just bought. It's scaled, to where it should be. And then also, again, then you can then interface with that environment. You can do all kinds of things with that environment. And I think that's where this thing is going to go. I think especially Web3, that's where it's going to go. And where you walk into a store, but I don't think you walk. But I'm not so sure yet about being an avatar. I like the idea of you walk in the store because it's you. You walk into a store, and the store is in your living room or in your backyard, and you do whatever you do in a store, but you're doing it in a environment that is totally digital, but yet it appears to be a real time environment. I think that's where it's going to go. I'm not sure it's there yet. I'm not sure that the right play pattern is there. I think the only play pattern you can worry about right now is getting it more, getting more play pattern and more interface with the owners and with other people. That's what you get that part of it done. They're building these metaverses, they're building, houses, and yet how many metaverses are you going to go into? I don't know, but it strikes me as it's convoluted, it's a little confusing, and that they're charging this huge money to be want to be next door to Snoop Dogg's metaverse. No, I don't give a shit about Snoop Dogg, so I don't care about that. I mean, other people would, but still, ultimately, it's going to be there, and just the question is, what is it going to be? If Disney trademarked Disney parks for the metaverse. I can see that. I can see a Disney park that's totally digital, and then you have it, you put it up in your backyard, and you're playing with it. I can totally see that. Other things, I'm not sure. But right now, I know what you have to do is get out of this phone, get out of the computer.
And actually, there's a company I just saw. I mean, they've been around for a little while, but you could put on a VR headset in your car, and you can have a full-on VR experience and play games, and it's a whole interactive experience with inside your car, but it interacts with the outside environments, which is pretty wild.
So it's like augmented reality at some level too.
I think it's more just VR entirely, but going back to AR, what you're saying earlier, I love what you're saying about, because for me personally, I'm excited about AR the most. I love the idea of mixing reality and digital collectibles and just enhancing our reality.
Best thing I've seen is Pokemon Go. It drove you, and actually literally, it drove you. What they did, which was, I didn't even know they did it. They had these gyms, they set up these gyms.
Yeah.
One of the gyms was my high school. I don't know if that was accidental. It couldn't have been accidental.
That's so cool.
Too many high schools. And I got calls saying, "Oh, what? There's thousands of kids traipsing through the school." You do? I said, I didn't do it. I had nothing to do with it. The idea of making it a really consequential experience, and and eventually, yes, it's going to have to go through a headset stage, but over time, that'll be reduced, to probably a pair of glasses, that you wear like you wear any other glasses. But that's what I think is it's got to go. But then that begs the question: what are the NFTs? And what are the NFTs? And then that goes to the issue about what your interest is, right?
Yeah.
So the issue is no one, I think, is going to be able to do every NFT for every interest level that people have. And there's so many variables, and there's so much that people, I put together lists and lists of what could be a great NFT for a specific individual, for a specific class of trade. And no company, and I don't think VEVE can do it either, can have as many of those and do as much of that as you want. You have to really identify which segments are really the ones that you're. And of course, VEVE identified the first one, which of course is the one that the traditional collectible space. So of all the things that you see at Comic-Con, that was the original thought. But that shouldn't stop there. It should go on to other incredibly interesting collectibles. I'll give you a crazy story, which again, it's history repeating itself. At one time when I was running my company, we represented some artists. We represented two artists. We represented a guy named Keith Haring, if you remember him. He passed away. We represented a very famous photographer, and he made the most incredible images. One of them was these big lips that he photographed. We got a call, I remember, from Bill Gates' company many years. This is going back years and years ago. They wanted the digital rights to those two artists. And their idea was, which was way ahead of its time, they wanted to put theoretically a television screen on your wall that looked like a frame, an artist's frame, and they would load in famous paintings every month. And he paid for that on a monthly basis. So you'd have Picasso one month, which was a great idea, which probably somebody's working on today. They were talking about it 30 years ago, 35 years ago. And again, the key element, I believe going forward, is things that you really can't get. You really can't get. And, and that if you have one, it has to be digital, because the real one either is one of a kind, or it's in a place that it can never be relocated, because it's whatever it might be.
Going back to what you were saying earlier about Pokemon, Pokemon Go specifically, it's incredible how much of an impact that's had around the world. But the one thing that I wanted the most was actually just being able to own these Pokemon with battle. And NFTs will allow that. You can own specific Pokemon that you can train over time, and they grow, buy, sell, trade them. Like the NFTs, the technology behind that will allow that to happen. And that is unbelievably exciting. And playing them in AR with people all around the world, that's awesome. That's really, really cool.
Oh, you have that, you look at, some of the games that, that are selling a lot of in-house, internal, well, not Minecraft. What's that big battle game?
Fortnite?
Fortnite, of course, yeah. NFTs got to get into the video game side. They will.
Yeah.
There's going to be a gambling component on this at some point. I don't know where it's coming from. It requires a lot of legalities to stop, but you're going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see it. And, I don't think we'll be involved in it because of the nature of where it'll be. It'll be something that requires a tremendous amount of regulation. But, you'll have these casinos. Who thought they'd be, they never thought they're going to have, sports gambling. Oh, God, no, sports gambling? Come on.
Yeah.
Having teams in Vegas? Oh, come, you got to be kidding me. That's where the height of gambling, we're going to put teams in there. I guess look at those teams, playing real well. Look at the stadiums they're building and the interest in those teams, and that's where this, everything comes full circle at some point.
Yeah, definitely. One of the other exciting things we were talking about earlier was the idea of possibly renting. You own one-of-one pieces of art that you can put up on your wall in augmented reality. If somebody wants to have a party or an event, they want to showcase that artwork and rent it from you, they can do that through this kind of technology, specifically on VEVE. And, I know people who have incredible pieces of art from Marvel, hand-drawn art, and they have parties all the time and host events for their artwork. I mean, recently there was a sports card show with the owner of the Arizona Diamondbacks donated his 10.0 graded Mickey Mantle rookie card, which is estimated to be worth $30 million. And he donated it to, just temporarily, at a card show so people can enjoy it and see it. But that's the kind of utility I think about too for digital collectibles.
Yeah, but also you can then have, even have your actually your ownership also. You can have your ownership of that particular copy. So the idea is that, the Mickey Mantle card's a really good example. You can have, who knows, 500 of those, 1,000 of those, and then cut it off. But then the authenticity is, is construed by the original owner, who knows that it's legitimate because it's got provenance, and then you have one of them. So what's that worth? Or another way to do it is you sell a piece of it. You have NFTs that represent that.
Yeah, you can fractionalize.
Exactly right. And
Yeah.
the NFTs, when they're put together, spell out the card. But in the interim, you want a piece of that, and then the whole thing is handled as a piece of, as almost like a stock. And then when the underlying card is sold, whatever it's sold for, then anybody who has a piece of it gets a prerequisite, share of the cut. That's certainly something that is happening.
Yeah.
There are a lot of companies that are selling big pieces of art and they're dividing it up into a ton of different pieces, but yet you own a piece of this art. And it'd be fun if you had an NFT to go along with it, so that you had that piece of art hanging in your living room, and you also actually physically own the piece of it. So it's actually had an intrinsic, real value add. So and that's happening. I mean, I don't know if it's gotten to the NFT side yet, but it's certainly happening in the art side. They're selling.
Yeah, like on Masterworks, if you know Masterworks, they're doing like fractionalized art. I've done some investing on their platform. You can buy, Basquiat's and Banksy's, and if you just want to spend $200 on a piece of one, you can do that.
Right, and then you have, of course, you have they syndicate horses, right? They syndicate race horses. They syndicate race cars. Syndicate everything. So all that certainly has a place maybe inside a digital universe, in terms of where you can display it and where you can, but it's a lot of work and a lot of legality.
Speaking of, I guess, legality and regulations, so something that we've been waiting for a long time, at least from VEVE and from Disney, is to start seeing some utility added to some of the collectibles they've already released, like the golden moments. Like, for example, something we'd love to see is like in-park utility, where if you own potentially the entire golden moment set, then maybe you get a park ticket, like a season pass. So we'd love to see utility like that, but we haven't really seen things like that come up yet. And I was wondering if you had any perspective on why some of these big IPs might be holding back on adding utility to collectibles that they've already released. And is it like a regulatory issue that they're concerned about? Curious what your perspective on that is.
Well, you have seen, for instance, if you bought a certain Disney NFT, you got a free subscription to Disney Plus, right? So that theoretically, that's a little bit of that's a gift with purchase type of thing. I can't give you any. I don't have any inside information on that. And if I did, I would tell you I don't have any inside information on that.
Yeah.
But I think there's a huge amount of concern about the legalities of it. I guess I think if people wanted to figure it out, they could, because I've always thought the same way you are. I'm thinking, what happens if Disney used NFTs as their method of buying everything in their parks, or crypto or certain currency? They can start their own cryptocurrency, right?
Yeah.
Mickey bucks, or whatever they want to call it. And then what is the rationale for that? And where does it fall into problems? Well, if you buy a ticket to Disney, that ticket enables you to do certain things, right? If I don't want to use Disney as an example, if company X decided to use a token as their entry level position, and that token was usable either for a day or for forever, or whatever the case may be, I think it's a legal issue. I really do. I think they're afraid of getting caught looking like they're developing a digital currency where there's still a lot of misunderstanding about what this stuff should be used for and how it gets regulated, et cetera, et cetera. I would love to see it happen, because I'd love to see it happen for us. But I think, again, I don't know for a fact, but I think that there's a lot of issues to be, construed that are not adjudicated yet sufficiently to allow somebody that has a huge consequence.
It's definitely probably not something you want to rush into. I mean, the space is so new, we're figuring it all out. So I mean, I'm sure they're thinking about it, but it's definitely, it's something that they're not like pushing forward.
There's certainly ways you could play this, but I was always hopeful that somebody would figure it out, and use it in a way that would copy what token is, but have figured out what all the pitfalls are and what all the, problems are that create the problem in using it regularly. I'm not smart enough to know. There's so many issues, especially by country too. The countries are all
Right.
developing their own laws in regard to NFTs, in regard to cryptocurrency, and you have to also migrate, all those laws into your own thought process. So, yike. I think what you did hit on the head. I think, and I don't want to use the term NFTs. Get rid of that term. Digital collectibles. We should have all kinds of promotional opportunities around digital collectibles, like you do with anything else. You buy something, you buy a digital collectible, you get this. You get the digital collectible. I think there's a huge opportunity in promotional business and advertising that we haven't even. How many things do you get? How many promotions are there that you see every day where you buy something, you get something else? I think there's a slew of that stuff. And that wouldn't fall into a digital currency realm. It's just a swap, right? I think there's something really there. Somebody's going to really latch on to that. Like for instance, we did a Pokemon Go. Instead of dropping Pokemon, you drop Coca-Cola cans. You find a Coca-Cola can, pick up the can, take it to the store, get a free Coca-Cola. I know it's being done. I know it's going to happen. That to me is really an interesting, compendium about how this works. Digital collectibles are going to have to be also promotional vehicles. And that's where the real money is, probably, besides the value of the digital collectible, which could be interesting.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, Al, because for us, the biggest reason why we're such advocates for specifically like the gold moments as an example, it's in connecting that to the Disney parks, adding utility to those collectibles, because it advertises the entire space. People who don't understand Web3, who don't understand NFTs. And if you tell them you own this, you get special perks at the parks or special perks to other events or anything else that's related to Disney. It's connected to things that they already understand and they love, which helps them, which eases them into the Web3 space, which I think is amazing.
Right. And I think the other side of it is that there has to be a connection. People are they always look for a deal, right? And these things go back as long as life exists. There's always been companies that give you a deal. And when you think about, what they were, coupons, right? What were coupons? Remember, you're too young, but S&H had a green stamp book. And you walked into a store and you got green stamps. And you filled up your book. And you could turn it in for a prize. It's all the same. It's just the technology changes. But the ultimate outcome of it is going to be the same thing, right? I want experiences. I want you to believe that what drives us as a race is one thing that drives us. It's status. That's it. It's not so much money, status. That's why you have these influencers. And so one of the things that gives you status is showing off what you have. Why do people buy expensive cars? Why do people buy expensive watches? If there was nobody else to show it to, they wouldn't buy it. So it's the same thing with NFTs. It's the same thing. You want to show them off. And you have to go right there and say, look what I got. I got to go, look what I got. So I think that ability to show them off, that ability to have other people enjoy them and tell you how smart you are, that's what really people are, looking for. And we haven't been able to deliver that yet. But I think eventually we will. And the more you do that, the more that people will consistently be not judging them just on the value, intrinsic value, but also on the value they have in terms of helping to increase their status in their social sphere. That's really kind of an interesting, thing. How many times you go to somebody's house? Let me show you something.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't whip out their phone and let me show you an NFT. They go, look at this. I got this in, in the bowels of, wherever the hell they were.
I walked into Sean's house last night and he goes, hey, check out this VHS I just bought.
Yeah. So Al, I've been collecting sealed VHS Academy Awards screeners.
Wow.
So I've been collecting this So yesterday Spencer came over and I had to show him all these new Academy Awards screeners that I purchased recently.
That's fantastic. I think that's the rubber meets the road, so to speak. And the more outrageous we can get, the more we will sell.